Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at this really cool GPS drone that I got in recently from BWINE. This is the F7 GB2. This is a 3-axis brushless gimbal drone. It's foldable, as you guys can see, and just really nice, really nicely packaged. Just really excited to try this drone out. We're going to take it outside and we'll get the flight review in first, then come back inside and do the table review to wrap up this review. So let's go outside and see how this guy flies. So we'll be right back. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the BWINE F7 GB2. This is a big, well, it's not huge, it's a rather large foldable brushless GPS drone that has a 3-axis gimbal, 3-kilometer range. Really looks cool. I'll be sticking the table review for this at the end of this video. So if you're interested in checking out what all comes with it, accessories and all that good information, then stick around to the end. But we'll get up and get the flight review in first today. So the first thing we need to do with this drone is you want to connect it. You have to quick press, long press on the controller to power it up. Get the drone powered up first. It'll take it about 30 seconds before the drone connects, which is a little unusual. It'll finally say connecting and then it'll go to GPS mode. And then at that point, you connect the Wi-Fi on your phone to the drone, and then you can go ahead and go into the BWINE app. I'll put a screenshot up here off to the left of the BWINE app so you guys can see what it looks like in the Google Play Store. They also have it on iOS for the iPhone. So the first thing you need to do every time you power this drone up, unfortunately it's every time, you need to do a compass calibration. And the app is telling me that right now. So you have to take both sticks up and in, and that should enter it in. It may be, you may have to hold it there. There we go. Now it's telling us to rotate it about 1 meter off the ground horizontally. So that's the first thing we're going to do. And I believe the controller will beep. There we did. And then you can do it nose up. Now, they also tell you can rotate in a circle, holding it, and that makes me really dizzy. So I think you're probably just fine doing it like this. We will see. If it doesn't work, if it toilet bowls, which is doing circles and it doesn't hold position well, then you can do it like this where you rotate your body. That's what the instruction manual shows. But usually you can do it that way as well. And the app looked like it was telling me you can do it that way. Now it looks like we have a really, there we go. I was gonna say we had a really crooked gimbal, but the gimbal is going to recenter itself. And now it looks like it's really good. So we should be good to go. Now, I believe it was both sticks up and out will do a gyro calibration. And there it beeps, and that lets us know it's setting level, which is pretty level there on my helipad. So we should be good to get this guy up in the ground. Now, I'll briefly show you that gimbal on here again, just if you want to see it in case you don't stick around for the table review. There it is. You can see it's fully stabilized on all XYZ, yaw, pitch, and roll axis. And there is a micro SD card slot here. I can't really point to it with my hands full, on the back of the camera, which is attached to the gimbal. So you want to make sure you get one in there. I think it goes from 32 to 128 gigs. Make sure it's something above class 10 that can handle 4K. I don't expect this 4K to be a really high frame rate, probably 25 frames a second. The instruction manual does not say. Hopefully it's 30, it won't be 60. Let's go ahead and press the video button. And now we should be recording. Let's go in here. Actually, let's go back here and stop the video before we take off. Let's go up here. We want to make sure we turn off beginner mode. We do not want that on. And then we can set these up like flight altitude. There we go. We want the max on that. Return to home. Return altitude we'll put up, you know, at like 50 or something like that. Then click save, and now we should have that saved. Let's go back and make sure everything's saved, and it is. So let's go back out of that. All right, now we should be good to go. You always want to make sure you turn off beginner mode. Now let's go ahead and press that record button. Now we got video going. And to start the props, you can do both sticks down and out. So let's just go ahead and give it some throttle. Let's just let it hover and make sure that it Doesn't toilet bowl, and it isn't, so we got a good position hold. Ooh, nice. That's very, very stable. Looks really good. That's really nice. Really like that butter smoothie. Oh. Let's turn it around and face it at me. So this drone's a little bit different than some of the other ones I've reviewed, so that's why if I'm a little bit like flustered at times there where I'm telling you one thing and then it ends up being a different button or something, it's because it's actually got some more features than you'd expect on some of these. So there we are, guys. And let's go ahead and try to do sort of like a manual droney here. As Marcus over at Idaho Quadcopter always likes to do. Got a little bit off to the side. There's a little bit of wind too, so I didn't get it wasn't a very straight droney. But this is really, really nice. I really, really like the drones. The gimbal seems to just be rock steady. That's what you want. I mean, so many of these drones that are sold on Amazon just don't perform like you want. This one is really good so far. Not surprising, SJRC seems to be the only really budget brand out there that really has gotten the gimbal down. Just fly it around here full speed. Doesn't have a real tight turning radius. That's about as tight as you're gonna get on this guy. Now, there is a zoom feature, so let's back it up and try. That's just gonna be a digital zoom. So it's this upper left dial. Let's see if we can, yeah. See it, let's tilt it down a little more. We can zoom in some more. You see I'm in basically my PJs and sandals. So I'm just in my backyard. This is not gonna look as good because let's see, that's a max zoom right in there. It keeps going. It's gonna look jacked up because it's just digitally zooming or magnifying in. Let's go all the way back, there we go. This is showing the battery at only at 34%. It said 99. I was having trouble getting the battery to charge. I was plugging them all in with different cables and different connectors, and it didn't flash or anything, but when I plugged it in, it said it was 99%. So I thought maybe they sent it with a fully charged battery. And let's get it out of ways and do a return to home here real quick, because we're not gonna have enough time to test. Ooh, I did a digital zoom. Those other features with that battery being, it says 24% now. So we're not gonna go very far here, guys, because it's gonna wanna kick back home here. I'll have to check into the battery. I do have the other battery. I could swap the batteries out, but that'll require me to do everything all over again. It flies great. Really nice. But yeah, I'm a little bit uncertain of why that battery, I had 99, I knew on the table 99% was going to probably be a bit exaggerated because it's not under any load. But I just could not get my battery to flash, and I had my friend Marcus over Idaho Quadcopter, as I mentioned a while ago. He has this drone, and he plugged his battery in his flash. So I don't know, I was using a 2 amp, I think a 2 or maybe a 3 amp. This is really good. It's supposed to have 3 kilometer range. This is good enough because it says we have 24% battery. Let's go ahead and initiate that return to home. And it says going home on the controller. Let's see what it's going to raise up and then fly back. And we'll see. I mean, once it gets below 20 or maybe 15%, it's not going to want to do much. So we should have enough battery, obviously, to make it back. There's a light wind today. I did think I noticed a little bit of jitters at times in the video, very minute. We'll have to see if that's just in the FPV feed. FPV feed is only coming in, I think, at like 15 frames per second they advertise. But we'll have to see if there is a little gimbal. But I mean, it's going to be very minute. And for what this drone is, I don't think it's going to be a big enough deal to cause any issues. But, you know, the gimbals on these drones, even as good as this one probably will be, is not going to be as good as a DJI gimbal or an Autel gimbal. Though it's pretty darn close to a FIMI, because FIMI has a heck of a time getting their their gimbals to have a good horizon, and this one seems to have a good horizon. Well, we barely lost any battery power, I'll give it that. We're at 22%, so I'm sticking in the mud back here really bad in my sandals. I'm gonna have to clean them off. I got clumps of mud. We'll see how accurate this is. We still have 22% battery, so maybe we have enough battery to get it back up in the air. And well, it's a nice slow descent. And see if maybe we can test the circle mode. This has a image follow me, but it just will do a yaw and follow you on the yaw axis. It won't actually follow you by movement. But if you use the GPS return to home, it obviously will follow your phone's GPS. And that's what they recommend that you use. It's gonna be off a little bit, but not bad, about what we expect. Usually these drones don't usually land right on the helipad unless they have precision landing, where it uses a camera to look down at the ground and correct the GPS and land by using image correction. So this doesn't have that. You have to go up to the DJI's, or the Autel EVO, or the FIMI drones have that, and the Hubsan drones have that, but those are usually going to cost, you know, pretty good money. No, not all of them. Let's go ahead. We got 22%. Let's just go ahead and take it up here again and see if we can do any of those smart features over here. So let's go ahead and take off and just give it some throttle. This thing obviously fly longer than, I mean, it shouldn't be at 22% battery unless the battery meter isn't very accurate, which you do see that sometimes on these drones. But it did say it had a full battery, so I thought maybe it just wasn't charging because of the full battery. Even on a low 1 amp charger, it should still charge and just take a long time, because they recommend, or they suggest it takes about 6 hours to fully charge just on a 3 amp charger. All right, let's go up into this little arrow pointing right will bring up your smart features. Let's try the GPS follow and see if it follows me. Just kind of move itself back there. Yeah, we're at 19% battery. Let's just see if it, like, I'll go this way because I don't want to go back into the mud. It may be wanting to fly back and land now. We'll see. Well, it's going toilet bowling on me or something. I don't know what it's doing here. That's bizarre. Let's go ahead and, I'm telling it to return home, and it's landing itself is what it was doing there, guys. But I think because it was so close and it was in follow me mode, that it got all confused. I don't think it's gonna let me do, let me see if it'll let me do that GPS follow. No, not available with low power. So what I'm gonna need to do is probably get the other battery and come back out here and test those, because you guys want to see how that works. Let me go ahead and land it. Ooh, that was a manual landing, not bad. All right, guys, oh, I wonder why it's, come on, turn off the props. You can hit the stop button if it doesn't. Boy, it flies really nice. That was a bit goofy there. I wouldn't anticipate that to be a normal problem. It was trying to go to return home, but it was really low and it was under low power, so it seemed like it was toilet bowling. But what we'll do now is I'm gonna stop the video, go inside, get my other battery, plug that in. I'll have to power it back up, obviously, and do another compass calibration. And then at that point, we'll see if we can get it up in the air and test a couple of smart features. So the nice thing is this does have 2 batteries with it. Another one should have enough power to be able to do that. So I'll be right back, guys. All right, guys, I have another battery in here. This one, you can see it shows it at 98% and the controller at 61. So we'll see. When these are on the ground, they tend to, there's no voltage sag. So it may look like it's really charged, but it isn't. But it was about 4 lights. So it would go between 3 and 4. So let's go ahead and start recording some video again. And let's go ahead and get it up in the air and test out some of the smart features. And look at that, immediately the battery dropped to 60%. So we'll have to see. This is a 11.1 volt 3S LiPo in this. So it is a, you know, a good powerful battery, but, and this is about a 550 gram drone. It's not super heavy, but we'll have to see. I just can't imagine they're fully charged. I just don't know why I was having trouble. I tried the cable provided with it. I tried different wall adapters and the lights just didn't blink, but Marcus said his did. We'll see now that I get these discharged what the battery does. So let's go ahead, enough jibber jabbering. Let's try that GPS follow now and see what it does. We have 46%. We got plenty. Now it's yawing, and that's what it's supposed to do in just the image follow, but it should, you can see now it's moving. So it is actually tracking me. And let's tilt the gimbal down just a hair. There we go. Yeah, that is working perfect. Let's see if it actually moves some more, and it is very little because I'm walking backwards. Let's go this way. Okay, I don't go too much because that sun is going to get into the camera and blow out everything we're trying to see. So this works really, really well. It's backing up, and that's good. It's keeping its distance. Maybe what we'll do now is, let's see if, I think you go back into the mode and click it again to cancel it. And there it rotated back, I guess the direction it originally was facing. Now the image follow says you need to be about 3 meters, really close, like right around here. And it'll just yaw. So let's try that really quickly. Adjust the light, okay, keep with all it says within 3 to 10. Let's just see, is it yaw as I move? Is it even following me? No, I don't know. They almost warn you that this mode may not work very well, but I'm not even sure. Like, it didn't even give me, let me try it again. Let's go, click off, click on. Got a bee trying to land on me. Under the adequate light, keep the distance of the aircraft from human body between 3 and 10 meters. Now let me back it up a little bit. Maybe it was too. It's supposed to just yaw. I don't think this mode is working. Look, I'm just gonna walk right out of the frame. All right, that doesn't work. So usually you'll find some feature doesn't work. They almost advertise to not really use this mode. Because you would think you'd draw a box around you or something, but no, it doesn't do anything. But the GPS follow works great. There's no reason to use it. The image follow is using the app to see the video, and it requires a lot of processing power, and it's a lot of advanced programming. So that's not going to really be surprising that doesn't work. What's lens angle? I don't know. Clicked that before. I don't know what that does. It says, I thought it was something to do with the tilt of the camera, but let's go to point of interest. That's going to do a circle from the spot you're at will be the center. So let's set that up a little bit from 5 meters to, let's go up to like 18's good. And go ahead and tell it to start. Let's see how that works. So it's gonna go up to the preset height that I had it, which I forget what that was in the settings. It's getting pretty high. And now it's gonna fly out 18 meters. Let's hope and stop. And it's, because it used that spot the drone was at, is the center. And it should turn back towards us. Let's kind of stand in the spot where that was. Right over here. Let's rotate the gimbal down. Oops. And there it goes. What's a nice circle. Really nice. We're gonna have some glare of the sun over here, so I might not look at the drone for that moment, just so we don't get right in the sun. Here it comes. Let's turn back around this way and wait for it to come back around here. And here it comes. Really nice circle. Really nice. I'm super impressed with this drone. I mean, it does just about everything perfect except for that image follow, which I had very low expectations for that anyway. So let's tilt it up a little bit more. Super. I mean, that is just, you could not ask for a better circle than that. That is just butter smooth, slow. It's perfect. There's no, you know, it's not jerking or constantly yawing and correcting itself like I've seen some drones do. This drone is really, really good. Super impressed with that. Let's go in here and just click that again to turn that off. Yeah, this is really nice. I know, I'm trying to think, was it a frequent flyer RC? Sometimes talk to him through comments. I know he has this drone, and he said, hey, this thing's really good. He's been reviewing longer than I have, so I trust his opinion on that. And yeah, he was right. He took it up there over, I guess, the Home Depot where he usually flies, and took it up and just had 720p video from his phone, and I was really impressed. I could tell the gimbal worked really good, and it absolutely does. Let's go ahead and tilt the gimbal up, and the gimbal's smooth. It's not jerking and doing all that weird. If you get a little of that, that's just because it's Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi lag will make it look like it's, you know, a bit jerky, especially the lower frame rate of the FPV feed. This is a really nice drone, really nice. Don't have much negative to say. It's just, for an Amazon drone, even though BWINE doesn't make this drone, this is one of the very few that are not like a DJI, an Autel, a FIMI, a Hubsan, that I can recommend with the gimbal that really performs. The gimbal does, from what I can see, exactly what you want it to do, and that's great. You know, that's what you want to see. The Potensic Dreamer Pro is the only other one I can think of, along with the DEERC DE22, with gimbals that actually perform well from these Amazon sellers. Unfortunately, with this drone, the biggest downside is going to be the price and the size. Being that this is well over 250 grams, you're going to have to put an FAA registration number out in the United States, and it's going to be, you're going to do the remote ID and all that when that becomes in effect. So it is over that weight limit. And the price, and this drone I think is $380 now with 3 batteries. Not a terrible price. It's just that at that price range, you're within $40 of a DJI Mini 2. And this drone is really good, but it's not as good as a Mini 2. So you have to keep that in mind, you know. But if you want a bigger drone, it's more powerful on 3S, you know, this one obviously has that and the Mini doesn't. And you're also looking at, you know, the DJI Mini SE is only $299. You know, the FIMI X8 Mini, and the new Hubsan Zino Mini SE is really good, and it's somewhere in that price range, 300-ish or something. And it just, you know, those drones are probably still a better choice than this, but this is not a bad choice, especially if you can get it for a, you know, a good price. $380 again, I don't think it's terrible, but man, it's still gonna be tough. Now what I did there is I was at pretty decent battery power. Look, it's gonna fly back now. And what happened was I gave it some throttle, and when you give it throttle, that is really zaps the battery, and that's where the power dropped. So that's why we're seeing it hovering here now. It's saying, hey, you need to land me. So we'll go ahead and bring it down. So even though it was hovering, it looked like the battery was decent. As soon as I gave it some throttle, boy, it went straight to red and said, hey, you got almost a dead battery. Let's go ahead and land it. Boy, it flies so good. It's just so precise, and it's very, very stable. Oop. Whoa. Boy, I think let's give it some, that's bizarre. I'm trying to land it, and it's slamming itself into the ground. Let's hold that stop down, and there we go. Let's go ahead and stop the video. That way we got it all saved. All right, guys, that wraps up the review of the BWINE F7 GB2. Okay, guys, I appreciate you sticking around for the table review portion of this. Let's take a closer look at this drone. and see all what comes with it. As you can see, you have a really nice carrying bag that comes with this drone. Before we look at the drone itself, and you've already seen it in the flight review, but we didn't get a chance to look at it up close. We'll just briefly look at the box because there's some information that they give you in the box that sometimes is helpful. As we can see here, this is the F7 GB2, 3-axis gimbal stabilization, 4K Wi-Fi camera. They advertise as excellent night scene shooting, but I'm not really sure exactly what they're getting at. If it's just the size of the CMOS sensor, I didn't notice anything in the app, but it's possible that I missed something. And then here's some more information on the side. 3-axis stabilized gimbal, the 4K resolution once again, the excellent night shooting, and the super long range remote control, because this is rated up to 3 kilometers. And I didn't take it out very far in the flight review, maybe 1,000 feet, but that was partially because I didn't really trust that I had enough battery. And yeah, so I know that I rate 3 kilometers. Marcus over at Idaho Quadcopter said he got 1 kilometer on his. I didn't, unfortunately. I missed his review, and I feel bad about that. I try to catch all my friends' videos, but anyway, he had no problem getting at least 1 kilometer. That's still really, really good for one of these drones off Amazon. So let's take a closer look at the drone itself. Just go ahead and open up the bag here. Now, when I was doing the flight review, I mentioned that battery life, and it just seems like the battery drains on the app faster than it probably really is. Like the voltage meter may not be super accurate because it just still seemed to fly a decent amount of time. And when I did bring the batteries back inside, they did start charging. So both of them just came fully charged, which is not ideal. You don't want to store these LiPos at full capacity charged. You want them to be at storage voltage. So the batteries were overcharged for storage, and that's why they weren't charging. So they were full, and they drop about 50% after you take off, but they fly longer than you expect at that amount. So I just don't think the voltage meter is very accurate in the drone. So anyway, onto the drone itself. You can see it comes with a, it's Velcro shield on top, your controller over here. So you just pull this out, and there is the drone. And as you probably noticed, sitting on the table here at the intro of the video, it just is really neat how they got this bracket on here that you pull off, and then the drone can fold out. So you just fold the front arms up and out. Ooh, I got the prop caught, so you have to be kind of careful there. And then the rear arms both just fold out traditionally, straight out and back. And there is the drone. Let's go ahead and move the case a little bit. And I believe this was around 550 grams. I know I'm close there, going by memory. We'll look at the instruction manual to confirm some of that data. But it's not like super heavy, but of course it's over twice as much as the 250 gram non-registration weight limit in the United States. So you do have to put your FAA number on this when you want to fly it. So keep that in mind. Plenty of places to put that on this drone. And then here is your gimbal down here and your camera. The camera looks almost like a GoPro, a little smaller, but similar in size to an action camera. And here's your gimbal guard, which you can just pop off on one side and take it off. And then there is the 4K camera. And you can see you've got your stabilization. Once it's powered up, you got your yaw axis, your pitch, and your roll. So you've got all 3 axis stabilization, and that's really beneficial to get nice stable video. You got dampeners on the gimbal, so that absorbs any vibrations coming in, so your video looks really good. And for what I could see in at least my recorded video to the phone, the video looked pretty darn good in terms of the gimbal worked really well, which I expected from this being an SJRC rebranded drone. They make probably the best budget drone gimbals that I've seen, So it works really, really well on that. And then on the back of the camera, you have your slot for your SD card, your micro SD card. It can go between 32 and 128 gigabytes according to the manual. You got some lights here, and you got a light here in the back below the battery, and then you have some lights that flash on the front arms, and I think it's like a pink or something. It gives you different light combinations between compass calibration and GPS search and stuff like that. Here's your brushless motors, I should say. They're not brushed, so you got plenty of power with this guy. The props are not fold out though, so they are a little bit bigger. You know, a lot of these drones now come with the the props that swing out and lock. So there is no extra, you know, sensors on the bottom. There's no optical flow. There's no infrared, or sometimes these two spots here you can see would be a spot for infrared or just LED landing lights, but it doesn't have that. And this would be where an optical flow camera would go, but again, it doesn't have those. But it did a really good job on turn to home and landing, so it seems to do just fine just with GPS. But those would help add extra accuracy to its sensing the ground and finding its home return spot and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and take out the battery. You can see that it charges on a USB-C cable, which is provided, and I'll show you that stuff here in a moment when we get into the accessories. But just squeeze the top and the bottom and pull the battery out, and there it is. This is a 11.1 volts. So as I mentioned during the flight review, it's a 3S and it's 2600 milliamp hours, so it's decent size. So you know, the flight time on, again, I don't think was what is advertised, but you know, it wasn't too bad. We'll have to confirm in the manual. I wanted to think that the flight time was rated around 18 minutes. And then you can see the power by holding this down. It kind of turns the battery on. It shows us at about half, but it's according to the app, it made us land on both of the batteries, so it was down below 20%. But when the battery's not under load of the drone, it's going to oftentimes show more voltage than what it really is. So you just hold it down, and then you can turn it back off. And the battery just slides right back in there, real simple. So yeah, the drone looks really nice. It's just with this landing gear, which you can remove this. It's a little bigger. Again, it's not like a Phantom size. It's not gigantic, but it's certainly bigger than, like, you know, the foldable MAVICs and stuff like that. But it's certainly not bad by any means. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's in the bottom of the case, and then we'll take a look at the controller and then the instruction manual. We'll get this wrapped up. This is your spare battery, and it also has one USB-C cable inside of there. And this has your spare props, so if you were to damage them in a crash, or you know, crashing into something, you've got a full set of A and B props inside of there. And that's what's inside the bottom, these little compartments down there for both of those. And then over here on the right side is where your controller is. And I really like these SJRC controllers. My DEERC DE22 that I flew last spring, late winter, that one has the same controller, and they're really nice. And that drone also had a really good gimbal. And I think that was a 2-axis though. And here's your antennas. And these do both have wires in them. So you've got, you know, one of them's probably your control transmission, and then one of them's going to be the FPV. And that's why this drone gets a good solid FPV signal. Any Wi-Fi connected one, which comes straight to your phone, you know, well, actually, let me take that back. I'm speaking a little wrong there. I was saying that one would be Wi-Fi FPV, but that would then require a USB connection. So I got a little ahead of myself. It does really well for a Wi-Fi only transmitted signal. So both of these, lots of times when you see a wire in both, you're going to have one be your transmission for the image, and then one for the controller, and then it's going to use a USB cable to bring that in from the controller. But this doesn't have that. So considering that this is just Wi-Fi based, that's really, really good. Not just 5G, but it just means that the drone has a really powerful Wi-Fi transmitter and a really good antenna and antenna placement that it can broadcast that, because if it's unobstructed, it should be able to go a ways. But the ideal system is the ones like DJI and FIMI and Autel use it's a USB. So it does really well considering that it's just connecting to the drone's Wi-Fi. So, you know, any of these toys I can't get anywhere near as far as these, because they just don't have a good Wi-Fi system in them. So anyway, the antennas are real. Enough rambling on that. Here's your phone clip holder. And then these are just the little foam protectors for the gimbal sticks. These are obviously, you take those off. And then you've got your hand grips down here just to hold it. And then your phone actually goes in here. Of course, some drones have it where it goes down there, but that's just for your hands. And there's your USB-C charging port to charge this. This does not use AA's. It's fully rechargeable. To turn this on, you have to do a quick press, long press, and it pops right on, sort of like DJI does. And it will say connecting for a while, even with the drone turned on, which is not right now. It may take it 30 seconds, and the manual says that, before it actually connects to the drone. And then you can do both sticks up and in, enters you in the compass calibration. The app will tell you need to do that, and it will show you an animation that you need to do that. And let's go ahead and turn it off. I've had trouble. It says 3-second long press will turn it off. And as you guys can see, it doesn't do it. There it did. Other times, I like a quick press and then a long press, and I got to go off. So it's a little finicky about turning off. But anyway, up and in is your compass calibration. Up and out will do your gyro calibration, so you can set level, and the app will actually pop up with a little, hey, it's calibrating horizontal, it'll say. So the app is very interactive, and the app is very nice. I really like the app. If you watched the flight review, which I'm sure you did, you saw all the features in there, and everything worked perfectly except for that image tracking, where it will spin its yaw axis to follow you, but it doesn't actually move. The drone doesn't move. I couldn't get it even to spin. It didn't do anything, so I don't know what's up with that. But the GPS tracking worked perfectly. Circle Me mode, which they call point of interest, was excellent. I mean, one of the nicest, smoothest circles. Looked like something right off a DJI drone in terms of the way it functioned. You know, the camera may not be up to DJI quality, but it was really, really good. So really impressed with that. And let's see, your controls here, you've got your, let's see, I have to go back to that one because I didn't use that one in the review. So I have to take a quick look at the manual. But this is your motor stop, your power, and your GPS return to home. And then up top, you've got your photo and your video, which it threw me off. I kept pressing this one when I started doing my review, and because a lot of drones have one button, and you do a short press for video, short press for photo, long press for video, and I kept doing that. But you've got separate buttons for each. This is your digital zoom, so it's just going to zoom in on the video, or if you're going to zoom in and take a photo. But it's just digital, so keep that in mind. It's not very good. It's not an optical zoom using the lens of a camera. And this is your tilt, or the pitch tilt on the camera, to actually look down and look up, which we did quite a bit of that in the flight. And let's take a real quick look there, because I didn't actually use that button, and I'm not positive right offhand what that is. That is 3, that's your speed switch. So I didn't even mess with that. I was wondering if there was a speed switch, and as you're getting reviewing stuff, if you just forget one little thing, it's simple to forget to test something as simple as your speed rates. It was sporty enough and flew along good that I'm sure I was in the lowest rate. It has a very slow yaw on that I didn't even need to switch rates. But I imagine going to higher rate, you're going to get a faster yaw, and of course the drone's going to be faster. And it says if you hold that button down for 5 seconds, you can go between normal or GPS mode, which I assume means switching it between altitude hold and GPS. But again, I didn't even mess with that during the review. So a really nice controller. Again, it's got the antennas for your reception, and just really nicely. It feels hobby grade. It doesn't feel like a toy grade, cheap, low quality plastic, type of controller on this guy. And let's look really quickly at some of those stats, and then we'll wrap this review up, because like I said, I know the weight and stuff like that, but I didn't know, I can't remember all the information. Here is the picture of the app, which you should have seen in the screen recording. And then it mentions here the image follow, which again, it shows it going around like this, around like the yaw. I didn't get it to work at all. And it does have some gesture recording. I did not do that. That's sort of gimmicky. I mean, why do you need to do that if you can just use the controller? Unless I guess you want to activate it and put the controller down. I don't know. It just seems dumb to me. Route planning is waypoints where you can actually pin locations on the map and then have the drone fly to those and then come back. I don't always trust those too much on these drones. I'm sure it probably does work well on this one. I don't usually test that in my reviews. It's just, I usually don't have enough battery power. And as you guys saw today, even the second battery, I didn't have enough time. I would not have been able to do that, because by the time I got done, I had a little jibber jabbering there, and then it went into return to home. Actually did it on both batteries. And it does mention you can help search, you can look for your drone on the map if it were to come down, and the GPS tells it where it last had signal. That's nice. And then there's that beginner mode, which we turned off in the flight review because that's going to cap you, your altitude and your distance, which might be fine for a beginner, but someone like myself, I can't test any range at all with that activated because it's going to hit a geo fence. So it says 550 grams, which I was correct about. They advertise a 25-minute flight time. I thought it was 18, but there's no way. I mean, they always will inflate these in almost every drone outside of maybe DJI Autel. A few of them are going to be a little more accurate on that, but I mean, I don't know exactly what I got yet. I have not gone through the footage yet. I'm filming this before I edited, any of the flight review, but the battery, with the fact it drops to 50% from 100 to 50 as soon as you take off, it just, you're not going to get 25 minutes. It does have GPS and GLONASS. GLONASS is the Russian GPS system, so that gives you a better GPS lock. And let's see here. Of course, they mentioned 4K and stuff, but they don't really tell you the frame rate. But they do tell you over here the 5G image transmission is 15 frames per second. I'm hoping that the onboard video is 25, but it sounds like from what Marcus was telling me that the video on the SD card is only 15, and that's really unfortunate. When you get below 24 frames per second, your eye can distinguish the individual frames better, and it becomes shuttery, especially when you're yawing, because it doesn't have that high frame rate. When you get above 24 to 29 to 30 and up, then everything comes really smooth to the eye, and I can't see that even when you're yawing. So if it is 15, that's really unfortunate. It's a bummer. Up to 3 kilometers outdoor unobstructed range. And I think that's just about all the stuff you'd want to go over there. So yeah, they give you a little bit of information here about putting the propellers on and stuff like that, and any Wi-Fi problems that you might encounter. And the startup guide was here really informational and nice, that you can pretty much get this drone off the ground and fly just by looking at this, which very quickly tells you how to compass calibrate, how to do the gyroscope, and get this drone up in the air, because most people don't want to sit and read a manual. All right, guys, I think that wraps up the review for the BWINE F7. Overall, I really do like this drone. Outside of the image, tracking, smart feature didn't work for me, and the batteries seem to drop a little bit and don't probably have the kind of flight time that you would expect. I really like it. Obviously, the video and the camera on these are going to be at DJI quality, and the low frame rate is obviously going to be a bit of a bummer. But otherwise, everything else works as advertised. So on this drone, it's going to come down to price. Right now, this is about $380-ish with 3 batteries. This is a 2-battery version. So, at that price range, even with 3 batteries, you're better off getting a DJI Mini 2, or any of those drones are going to give you better everything than this. But if you can get this drone on a special or a coupon, or you got an Amazon gift card or something, because this is pretty much exclusive to Amazon, at $300 price or something like that on down, then this is a really good deal. But when it's getting up to around $400, there's too many other drones at that price point. 3 or 4 other drones around there that I mentioned at the end of the flight review portion that are just better options than this. So it's just going to come down to price. All right, guys, that wraps up the review of the BWINE F7. I appreciate you guys for sticking around to the end. Be sure, if you're new to the channel, that you subscribe and click that bell so you're notified every time I do upload a new video. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.
The power of the dark side.